Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome to the second battle. This is the first battle, however, for the B group. It's going to be Russia versus Japan. I'm very curious to see how this one's going to go. Japan has those 18 inchers. Russia does not. Russia has 15 inch on the bow and nothing on the stern. Well, 8 inchers. So, let's see how this one's going to play out. This tournament is currently sponsored by The Block Zone. You can see them here. The winner is going to get this 1 in 200 scale. It's a big one. Bismarck. The Bismarck is going to be taking up 1.25 meters in your living room once you have all 7,164 pieces complete. If you want to get a project from the Block Zone, they have a lot of them. They got military gear. I've recently actually made this car with Quinn. I'll add a clip. And they got all sorts of different gear. You can go for cars. You can go for military vehicles, which you might find yourself interested in. Ranging from anything like a Ferdinand, a bridge layer, Abrams. We got a missile carrier tank. This seems to be something out of an odd contraption game. They got many projects. And yes, these projects are not necessarily cheap. But if you use code STEALTH upon checkout or use my link down below in the description, you're going to be getting 10% off. And you directly support the channel. Big thank you to the Block Zone for sponsoring the tournament and providing that Bismarck to the eventual winner, but we're not there yet. First we have a couple of battles to do. Join me for the next one. Here we go. Kaguya Shinomiya class from Japan versus the Russian Belarus class. The Belarus have an interesting design. They have 8 15 inches on the bow, a couple of 8 inches on the stern. Definitely potential to set a bunch of fires with those 8 inchers, but beyond that, they might not have the punch needed. Japan does have a lot of punch. They have 13-inch guns as your, I don't know, primary, secondary? They're considered primary guns. They also have 18 inchers. They got 4 barrels. It's not a whole lot, but those 18 inchers pack a massive amount of punch with both AP and HE. It doesn't really matter what these things shoot. It's going to be really destructive one way or another. Now, I do believe that they get a slight debuff when it comes to accuracy because they have a mismatched main armament. I just don't really see anything like that currently in the shoot info. I don't see a mismatch of different weapons. Yes, you got a gun recoil, but that is always the case. So, whether or not this ship is going to find that her accuracy is impaired because her rangefinders are trying to, well, rangefind for 2 different calibers, I don't know. Let's see and find out. She also packs a torpedo punch with a bow launcher at a range of 16 kilometers, so we're not quite there yet. These are big torps, 24s. That gives them a lot of punch. If the Russians don't detect them, or do detect them but don't react in time, the Russians are going to be in for a very nasty surprise. It does look like we got the first 18-inch hit on one of the Russian ships. Tis but a scratch. The main belt was partially pinned, and that's about it. That's the extent of the damage. So based on that, I don't consider it to be disastrous. But the Japanese can do this, well, could do this with impunity, up until the point where the Russians got into range, and now they are. So now the Russians are going to be shooting back at the Japanese. What's the chance to pen for the Russians? Because those Japanese ships are no joke. Well, really good, actually. Really good. They got a 58% chance to pen. Superstructures, turrets, main tower, main deck. It's all up for grabs. These Japanese ships, even with a main deck of 8-inch, well, that won't protect you from plunging fire. And yeah, the Japanese ships are definitely lacking in fore and aft deck armor. It's only 0.6 inches. Superstructure, 5.9 inch, plus 163%. And they did just get hit, but it was rejected. It was a ricochet. Now, what I really hope is that the AI is going to make some use of these ships that are, I think, meant to go bow in and just tank everything. Unfortunately, the AI doesn't know that that's a thing on this ship. It just sails ships around, disregarding any specific design instructions or design implications for how the ship should be operated. The Japanese keep flinging shells at the Russians, and only getting partial damage. I don't know what the chance to pen is yet. I can only tell one way. Now, the Japanese are definitely taking some hits, but so far they're managing to get away with a couple of ricochets, but they first took damage. And now it's the 8-inch. Yeah, there we go. It's not even a main gun, it's an 8-incher that's dealing damage to the deck of the Chitose. That aft deck, it's just not good enough. Doesn't mean that the Japanese are out of the fight, of course, and the closer they get, the more likely they are to be able to shrug off those 8-inchers. But at this range, that could be somewhat dangerous. I really like the Japanese design. I hope it's going to work out. Now, I did mention when I was reviewing the ships that the torpedo launcher on the bow does potentially cause problems when it comes to firing the 18-inch gun. Because the 18-incher doesn't work when you're pointing directly at the target in the angle where the torpedo launcher is blocking the section. If you're broadside, like they are, it is absolutely no concern. Now the Russians did do some serious damage over here to the Shinomiya, the Kaguya. She's been flooding, she's been taking some fire damage. She's flooding again. Now most of these battlecruiser designs that were sent in have a lot of protection. Ooh, that was juicy. That was an 18-inch right through the main belt, and that did a lot of damage. Wow. Anyway, as I was saying, most of these ships have a lot of protection and are able to take hits and survive. They're able to take flooding and survive. The Kaguya, however, is taking quite a beating. She's coming under focal fire of, I think, 24 15-inch guns. All ships appear to be firing at her, and she's not particularly enjoying the treatment. There's a 13-inch that got partially through the main deck of that trailing Russian ship. There is serious pressure on the Kaguya over here, and she keeps sailing broadside. They're all under AI control. I'm not influencing them at all. Kaguya seemingly having flooding mostly under control. I'm not seeing her fill up quickly, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. And either the Russians have switched fire or have split their fire, using secondaries to go after the Chitose. Chitose, veteran crew, maximum bulkheads, should be more than capable of quickly getting rid of the threat. And what I'm kind of waiting for is for the Japanese to start launching torpedoes. They got the range. The enemy ships are well within range. Not likely to disengage anytime soon. So, torpedoes, I'd say, are a pretty fair solution. But while they're trying to train them at the targets, it just seems like they're not either not certain about their launching yet, or look, these are trying to hit a battleship, and now the primary launcher is as well. I saw the Kaguya Shinomiya try to fall back into the formation. She's taken quite a bit of damage. So far, the Japanese don't have that much to show for it themselves. Yes, they got that nice 2,000 points hit with the 18-incher. That's about it, though. The Kaguya, similarly to her sister ships, has not launched torpedoes. Neither has the Tenryu. So far, those torpedoes are looking fancy, but they are getting destroyed. I'm seeing some losses of the crew on the torpedoes, and seemingly they haven't fired a single one. It does seem like the 13-inchers for some particular reason aren't working. Oh, we got a torpedo launch. Chitose sent out her torps. And, oh, here they are. Interesting. So you sent your torps after the main ship. Potentially this guy's going to be at risk as well, depending on how quickly those ships continue to travel. And, of course, whether or not they will detect the incoming threat. Some damage here. You're firing HE? At this range? Well, I suppose it's possible. Ooh, good lord, that did a whole lot more damage than I was expecting. That was almost a perfect volley. That did a lot of damage. And, by the way, we also have a torpedo launch from the Kaguya. She also sent a few torpedoes there and a few torpedoes here. Whether or not the Russians have detected those, I don't know. They have sonar 1, so they should be able to detect them. And when it comes to detectability, these things aren't spectacularly visible. But with sonar, you will detect them, and it might be so that this battlecruiser is already responding. The Japanese, however, have a lot of torpedoes in the water. You can see them here, there, There's another couple there. This could be bad news for the Russians. It does, however, look like the Japanese are in worse position. The Kaguya, unable to bring her bow turrets to bear. The 18-inch turrets have taken a lot of damage already. She's listing so badly that I'm concerned about her ability to continue to lay down fire. She has, however, launched her torpedoes from the stern. You can see that the Russian ships are turning tail. These 39-knot ships should have the speed to get out of the path of the torpedoes. They're desperately trying. They got maximum bulkheads, an anti-torpedo 3, anti-flood 3, reinforced bulkheads 2, and double hull bottom. So, for all intents and purposes, they should be able to take a torpedo and not immediately get destroyed. You can see how the Russian ships are also coordinating their torpedo dodging effort. The Belarus, taking some damage by the way, has already been turning away from the threat. Even though she's not actually at risk. Oh, this could... No, it was good. But Kinburn might be in the safe here because that torpedo decided to change direction. There's more torpedoes in the water, but it's just not working out. 13-incher, full main belt pen on Orenburg. Orenburg flooding 2 positions. The difference between the Russians and the Japanese is that the Japanese have a veteran crew and the Russians only have a regular. So far, the Japanese don't have too much to show for that veteran crew though. Because you can have all the crew level on your ship, but if you don't actually have the right weapon setup, you could be in trouble. Speaking of weapon setup, the Orenburg has thrown a torpedo back at the Japanese. It is a 21-inch torp. It is very sneaky, so I doubt I'll be able to spot it. The Japanese have Hydro 3, which will give them some additional warning. But whether that warning is sufficient remains to be seen. Oh, the Kinburn did dodge the torpedoes there. So those torpedoes are going to be merrily passing through, not posing a threat to anyone. What is Tenryu doing? There we go. Tenryu is firing, but her accuracy is pretty bad. Oh, there we go. Now it's climbing. Especially when you consider Orenburg with her 17%, 18%. It's pretty good. Kinburn, 20%. And this is when the Russians kind of run into trouble. Because when they're trying to maneuver away from the enemy is... Whoa. The enemy's... the Kinburn is unable to bring her 15s to bear. It looks like Chitose just detected a torpedo. A little late. That stealthy torpedo could be a problem for Chitose. Because you don't suddenly get this whole ship out of the way. Does this ship have defenses? Well, limited. Because she has a single hull bottom. She has anti-flood 3. I am not seeing any torpedo blister. This is gonna hurt. 4,000 points of damage on Chitose. That's 5 compartments flooding? Potentially more. Chitose is in a world of hurt. Damage control parties rushing down there to try and fix the ship as quickly as possible. Now let's have a look at crew loss, because that's also a very important factor. We got 19% crew lost here, 0.6 there, 24 here, so the Japanese are mostly fine. Orenburg, 15% crew loss, 7% there, and 1.3% there. So the Russians are not at risk of losing. The Russian Orenburg seems to be trying to fall back, because she's taken a lot of damage. And because she's doing that, she's unable to bring her bow turrets to bear again, much like Kinburn. Kinburn has turned enough, however, to bring those guns onto the target, which appears to be Chitose. Both Chitose and Kaguya are taking serious amounts of damage. And I fear that Kinburn's about to add a whole lot more onto Chitose. Because that salvo, with about 48% chance to hit... Nope, nothing. Nothing. The 18-inch guns are firing armor-piercing onto the pretty angled Russian hulls. And I think they're just going to dodge, or they're just going to ricochet. Orenburg does seem to be in trouble, though. I think she's getting focused down by the Japanese. Oh, another torpedo. And as that happens... What are you shooting? Orenburg? Orenburg, yep. If the Japanese manage to finish off this ship, that could be really bad news for them. Chitose is still fighting a flooding. Chance to pen is 50%. So the Japanese have a really good shot here at taking down one of the Russian battlecruisers. Chitose maneuvers as best she can under the amount of flooding that she's taken. Flooding on the Orenburg. I don't believe that the 18s are doing a whole lot of work. 3.5k versus 12k with these guys. Okay, well that's also 4,000 from a torpedo impact. Chitose trying to fall back. The ship, I suspect, is listing too badly now to bring her guns to bear. Some of the 13-inchers can still shoot, but that's about it. Ooh, whoa! That was a big amount of damage. That was 2,800 as an 18-inch from the Tenryu pens the Orenburg and takes whatever surviving hit points she had. One Russian ship down. But we're not done yet. Because the Russians still have, let's say, 1.5 healthy ship. The Japanese have, well, 2 really badly damaged ships and 1 full health. If they're able to pull something similar with another 18-inch shot against the Russians, let's say against Kinburn, this ship could get eliminated rather quickly. Her accuracy, though, is pretty dreadful on those 18s. It's an 18 Mark III, it's not a bad gun. How are we doing for ammunition? Plenty. Oh, we got a torpedo launch from the Kinburn here. I'm not sure at what? Tenryu. Oh, a torpedo launcher got destroyed in Tenryu. Damage to Kinburn still seems negligible. Well, that's about to change. Flooding. That was... well, it's just mostly like low volume damage, right? But, well, no. It's not just low levels anymore. The Tenryu is down! Extensive fire took her down. That was the most healthy Japanese ship that they had. Wow. Okay. Can the Russians expect to lose the Kinburn? I mean, this ship seems to be in a rough spot right now. Fires, floodings. This can... ooh, destroyed main gun. There goes 50% of your firepower, Kinburn. Doesn't necessarily mean that they'll lose that, though. Ooh. Because they still got those 8-inchers. And those 8-inchers, I believe, were pretty instrumental in burning down the Tenryu successfully. What are you... was that the Belarus you're trying to hit? Yeah, no, dude. You're switching to the Belarus again. Don't do that. Oh, they're about to lose their last HE shells. But I think the ship has bigger issues. She's listing so badly that she can only melancholically point her guns down at the water, remembering the grand old times when she just came out of dry dock, and she's unable to fight. So that basically leaves the Japanese with 1 effective warship. The Kaguya Shinomiya. And she has taken a lot of losses. She's down to 80% control. She's even lost one of her 13-inchers. She did just put a couple torpedoes in the water against the Belarus. Oh, Kinburn is doing real bad on the flooding. This is a close fight. She appears to have it... no, she's not having it under control. We're down 11%, 10%. Destroyed another main gun. No, he didn't. 9%. Some damage to Belarus, but she seems to have it under control. Kinburn down 8%, and now they have the buoyancy under control. But it probably means that they're gonna be in a pretty similar position as Chitose. Actually, no, Chitose is able to fire her guns again. And those are really accurate shots against Kinburn. Oh, they're ricocheted! Really? 6.5 kilometers out. You can pen 79 inches of armor And the Kinbird just goes, nah, that's not good enough, dude. You're gonna have to do better. Oh, this is such a close fight. I love this. Ooh! That was a couple of 13s. Well placed. Flooding. Buoyancy 2%. I think Kinburn is done for. She's gone. The Russians only have the Belarus. The Belarus is not flooding. Well, she's flooding a bit, but she's still able to bring her guns to bear. She's bow in, which is exactly the place that you want to be with the Belarus. She's fighting the damaged Chitose, which by some miracle is able to bring her guns to bear every now and then. She barely has any torpedoes left. Is that going to do anything? Well, not really. Some damage to the main gun, but the ship is functional. Shinomiya. Is that gonna hit? It's a decent salvo, but it missed entirely. I feel like both of these parties are doing really badly. And I find it very hard to predict who's gonna win this. It's gonna come down to like a few good hits. If the Belarus... Ooh, there's your really good hit. The 18-inchers from the Kaguya blow right through the main belt, causing almost 3,300 points of damage. Immense amounts of fires on the Belarus. Flooding. Oh, and the 13-inchers from the Chitose make it worse. Far worse. The ship is suffering. The crew fighting the fires, fighting the flooding, and fighting the Japanese. The chance to pen the Kaguya is pretty good, but they missed. Their shells went right into the water in front of the Kaguya. Now it's going to be interesting to see if the Russians can still bring those guns to bear, because they seem to be enlisting to starboard really badly. Oh, that's going to be the death sentence. That's going to be the end of the Belarus. Boink. Oh, 0.2% structural integrity. Nobody sneeze. Nobody cough, because you'll blow the Belarus apart. She's still fighting, though. Oh, destroyed the main tower on the Kaguya. But they did it. Oh, what a battle. I love this. The Japanese have survived with all ships, but only just. I'm not sure... No, sorry, they haven't survived. They have lost one ship, the Tenryu, with Chung. My bad. All 3 Russian ships are down. Damn, this was a close one. I do believe it was the 18s that eventually decided the battle. Because we got 6,000 damage there, 4,800 damage there. Well, they're really quite even with the 13s. Oh, the Japanese did manage to eat another torpedo from Belarus. I saw the one from the Orenburg, but the Belarus also did 3,000 damage against somebody else. Well done. So, the Japanese find themselves winning the battle. But they did not come out unharmed, and it revealed a very vulnerable spot in the Japanese armor. Torpedoes. So with that, the first battle of the B-pool has been decided. Japan gains a point and finds herself at the top of the leaderboard, but she has a long way to go, because there are all sorts of matches that Japan still has to win. The next one we're going to be seeing on the channel, however, is Germany versus France. Germany, long-range barrels, very accurate ship. France, quadruple turrets, in French tradition. 12 barrels aboard the French battlecruiser. We're going to find out what ship gets the points and who is going to be advancing. Their score, not so much their whole standing, because we've just begun. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please check out the Block Zone link down below in the description, and keep in mind if you add code STEALTH at checkout you gain 10% discount, which is really nice. Once again, thank you to Block Zone for sponsoring the tournament. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon for more videos.